Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. A lot of people are wondering, why do I play Lucario in Smash? Most people have some sort of story or connection on why they main the character they do in Smash. So I figured now would be a good time to explain why I main this furry fuck. So it all started way back in the day when I was just a little boy, probably around the age 5 to 7. I don't remember exactly, but I just know I was a little kid. I never really grew up with Nintendo things. The only Nintendo things that I really had as a kid were, the typical Game Boy Colors, and I had a Nintendo 64 as well. But apart from that, I just grew up with mostly PlayStation things. So I never really had the chance to play a lot of the older Nintendo games and systems. Again, I never really had Smash for my Nintendo 64 either, and I never really had a GameCube, so again, I never really had the opportunity or chance to play Smash when I was younger. But there was one day I did have the chance to play. When I was little, I never really had friends that I hung out with outside of school, just due to living in the middle of nowhere. However, my brother did have a friend who lived somewhat nearby. One night, my mom wanted to go out and do something special, so she asked my brother's friend's parents if they could just watch me and my brother for the night, and they didn't have a problem with it, so we just stayed there for the night. My brother's friend had a GameCube with Melee, and we all played it for a few hours that night. And as I mentioned before, all I really had as a kid was a Game Boy, and with every Game Boy a kid had back in the day, they always had Pokemon. So my brother and I were actually pretty big Pokemon fans. We would always buy the cards, watch the shows, and play the games. Legendary Pokemon back in the day actually kind of meant something. There was only a couple of them, there's only a handful of them, and at the time Mewtwo was the strongest one. During that night, when I found out that Mewtwo was in Melee and you can play as him, I freaked out. It was the coolest thing ever. This rumored mysterious Pokemon who is only seen in one movie so far and who destroyed everything and anything that walked into his path can now be played as in this fighting game. I thought he was going to be super strong and overpowered, and the fact that you can charge up his Shadow Ball and cancel it and then just put it away and use it whenever you wanted to and just use it on your opponents when they least expect it, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, that night I played as Mewtwo because it was just so amazing to play as this super powerful Pokemon. But that was the last time that I would play as Mewtwo, and the last time I would play Smash for a very, very long time. So seriously, let's fast forward about legitimately 10 years. That sounds weird, but yeah, literally like 10 or more years later. I'm now a freshman in high school, and I started getting back into video games when a friend of mine had just recently sold me a Nintendo Wii with Brawl. So I played Brawl for a while, and I absolutely loved it. And at the time, I was a huge Zelda fan. And I mean, I still am, but I was just a big Zelda fan. So I would just play as Toon Link or Link. And I noticed something, and I remembered something. I remembered that one time that I played Melee as a kid, and I remember playing as Mewtwo, and I knew Mewtwo was, obviously in Smash. So I looked up on the internet if Mewtwo was in Brawl, and I was very sad to find out that my overpowered mythical Pokemon was no longer a part of the cast, and my heart was broken. But I did find out that they added a new Pokemon somewhat similar to him, and this Pokemon was Lucario. And yeah, Lucario kind of played similar to Mewtwo, or at least, Lucario can charge up an Aura Sphere and hide it just like how Mewtwo did back in the day with his Shadow Ball. Lucario was just not the same for me. I missed having Mewtwo. I thought that Mewtwo was way cooler in almost every sense, but I just dealt with Lucario anyways. So I started using Lucario a little bit here and there, but mostly played as the Lynx, and unironically played as Meta Knight a lot, not knowing anything about the competitive Smash scene and how busted he was in this game. I just played him because he was edgy and he had a sword. But yeah, I never really got competitive with it, I just played super casually, but then I found out about a mod called Project M that basically incorporated Melee's mechanics and characters into Brawl. So I hacked my Wii, downloaded Project M, and picked up Lucario. I found out about his Spirit Ball move and absolutely fell in love with it. So this was around the time that I started to learn about competitive Smash and slowly start to get into it. Let's skip a couple more years, and now we're at the release of Smash 4. That Christmas, I got a Nintendo 2DS with Pokemon Omega Ruby and Smash. I played Smash Online with my friends and random people on For Glory for hours on end, and at the time I played like 5 or 6 different characters, but after a while I started to notice something. Almost all of my wins and most of my kills were with Lucario. So at that point, I decided that I would just drop everyone else and just focus on Lucario. But then, they announced something super awesome for Smash. Mewtwo was coming back, baby! Hell yeah, I'm getting my super powerful Pokemon back. And then I tried Mewtwo and played him, and I absolutely hated it. It was bad, and it definitely was not what I remembered as a kid. I was dying super easily, like literally I was dying at like 20-30%. His playstyle didn't fit me at all, and it seriously was just 100% not what I imagined at all. But at this time, I had to think about when I was playing Mewtwo as a kid, it was literally for like one day, and it was super casual. And now I started getting into the competitive scene, and it just simply was not the same for me. It kind of broke my heart, but that was just simply the reality of it. Anyways, I continued to play Lucario for the rest of Smash 4's lifetime, and I realized that he was a very, very difficult character to play at a competitive level, and I really just wanted to drop him in the next game so badly. So again, we gotta skip a couple more years to advance the story, and then they announced that Smash Ultimate for the Switch was coming, and Inkling was going to be the very first newcomer announced. At this time, I started playing a lot of Splatoon, and I started getting into competitive Splatoon 2, and I absolutely loved this game so much, so it seemed like a perfect fit. I was gonna drop Lucario and play Inkling. I saw it in my head, and I had everything all planned out. But of course, that's not what happened at all. I played Lucario when Smash Ultimate came out, and I found out he is way better than what he was in Smash 4. And all the changes that I wanted to happen to him, well, it happened. And I did try to play Inkling for a bit, but I just couldn't get a handle on him. I felt like I couldn't kill people until they were at least like past 120%. Unless I got some sort of roller read on them, which was something I was just not used to doing. Because playing as Lucario, I just knew how to kill and when. And on the plus side, I'm used to killing people at like less than 100%, not past over 100%. That rarely ever really happens with Lucario. So I kinda just decided to stick with this furry fuck for my Smash career. It's almost a curse, but it's like a blessing in disguise as well. Because at least in Smash 4, there were not a lot of Lucario mains. So I had a lot to learn on my own. Especially being the only Lucario main who attended tournaments in the New England region for the longest time. But now with the new game, a lot more people are picking him up, including top players like Anti. I'm glad to see Lucario getting a lot more attention in this game, so if you plan on picking up Lucario, or if you just want to learn more about him, I am one of the only main Lucario content creators out there, so don't forget to subscribe to me because I have already made a couple guides on Lucario already, and I plan on making many more. I hope to see all of you in the future, and of course, as usual, I hope you guys have a wonderful day today.